Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll take a look at the dollar, yields, precious metals, and the commodities and ETFs that I follow. Again, if you guys need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. Become part of our community. You can use the word discount and coupon code for a discount. And we'll dive in here and I'll give you my financial opinions. So looking at the DXY, again, to me, it looks like we want to go higher still. We're down today, but that is a bloody nose, which is generally a continuation pattern to the upside in the short term. Yields continue to go higher, up 1.3% on the 10-year, 1.72% on the 30-year. And the yield curve is uninverting a little bit, even though it's both going higher. So we saw the short end of the curve go up less than the long end of the curve. This definitely looks to me like it wants to go higher for the 30-year yield. So if we back out, I mean, this looks to me like we are breaking to the upside for yields to move higher on the long end of the curve. The TYX-TNX ratio, which I do follow, generally when this goes up, that is positive for gold. So yields were up higher today, which is not positive for gold, but they moved in a way that was or is positive. And the dollar was just slightly lower today. So it's not going to help gold immensely, but gold will hold together, I think. Bond prices, TLT, slightly lower, down 1%. Again, we've got a lot of back and forth action in yields, in bond prices, and all of these different things. But here it is. We do have some selling pressure in this circle there. We want to see if we break out to the downside for bond prices. That means yields are going to break to the upside. Yields breaking to the upside does indicate money that could potentially rotate away from interest rate sensitive stocks and move towards commodities, precious metals that aren't as interest rate sensitive. So that we have that going on. We have the 2-year yield that was barely up today, 0.25%. So the long end was really higher. The short end of the curve, not so much. So that's basically what's happened today with yields. The CRB index, again, not interest rate sensitive, stuff like that. We were up today. Up pretty good amount, about 1.5% or so. The CRB to S&P 500, we were up. Again, is this 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level going to hold where we start to head higher? That's yet to be seen, but we're very close at that 0.618 level, which is the bottom here. So we'll see if that holds and if we continue to get strength and move on higher here. Gold up 4.4 bucks. I still think this looks excellent. You can even throw some sort of wedge on there or something like that. But we've got larger buying pressure, smaller selling pressure coming into a dead period where we'll eventually impulse move again. I think it's going to be the upside because of the pattern that we're sitting on top of and that we've broken. So everything still looks good. And even if this were to come back down before heading higher, because you could say that this is also some sort of pattern, but we'll see. I am remaining long, irrespective of what the short-term movements look like. Silver, we're at support. And there we are at support, right where we're for a longer-term trend line. I do think that this will go higher eventually. And platinum up a little bit, 4.5 bucks. Is this a turning point? We'll find out. Again, I'm not playing the short term. I'm looking at the longer term, bigger picture view, which is more along the lines of this view. I still think it looks absolutely excellent for a move higher, if it can even draw that in there. XAU to gold ratio, another positive day for the gold and silver mining companies, up 0.65%. We have not broken the big downtrend line yet. Still trying to work on that. But there we are in the short term. in terms of the ratio. It's not. We'll move on to GDX. So GDX, looking at GDX here, we're up 0.92% today. We do have some momentum coming down before this, and we do not have a very strong bounce. A lot of the times, we could see a continuation move lower in the short term with the way that this is kind of aligning here. Again, I'm not playing those short-term moves. I'm just riding this thing. Longer term, that's what it looks like. We're just bouncing off this resistance line of the, we'll call it the flag pattern. GDXJ's got the same type of setup in terms of a little bit more selling pressure with weak buying pressure. So we could come back down to this area down there with a little bit of selling pressure in the short term. But again, I'm not playing the short-term move. I'm playing the bigger, longer-term move of that XAU to gold ratio and looking for a breakout to the upside, given the market conditions of the interest rates coming low and turning back up for that TYX-TNX ratio. SILJ up 1.25%. Again, we've got larger selling pressure here, not as much of a bounce. Generally speaking, that generally leads to more selling pressure to the downside. Crude oil up 1.83%. This does look positive. So what do we see here? We've got strong selling pressure, a reversal candlestick here. That's your hammer candlestick. We came on up, we contracted, and there's our pullback. And now we've got a little bit of buying pressure. We need to see which direction we go here. To me, it looks like we're trying to put in a bottom and move higher. That's what it looks like to me. We're up above support, and we could see potentially a move higher in crude oil. But if we do see some large selling pressure that does come up, means that the sellers are still there and that we could push lower. Natural gas up 4.9%. Some people were talking about, hey, is this a bottom? It could be. We're seeing natural gas rigs come offline pretty quickly. So we're also seeing that the power burn for natural gas is higher. Demand for natural gas is higher, especially with lower prices. And I think this will all even out at some point. And maybe this is a bottom. It very well could be. I'm not doing anything with my shares. I'm just riding this stuff. Doesn't really matter to me what it does in the short term. But if it's a bottom, that's great. It's great for the shares that I own. XOP, yeah, you know me, up a little bit today. Again, we've got our big bullish engulfing, bullish piercing. We hit our head on resistance, came back down, and a lot of the times it comes back to where we started. And that is roughly where we are at now. So we could see a bounce, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking to see if crude oil strengthens here. If it does, it'll help out XOP. If it doesn't, we could see this come back to $100 before moving on up, creating a larger pattern of an inverted head and shoulders. OIH also up a little bit today, 1.15%. We're still in a downtrend. We're still trying to find that bottom. Have not found the bottom yet. Sprott Uranium Trust bouncing off that resistance level, slightly lower. It's not a big down day, so we can still break through this, guys. It's still holding together. Still looks good for a potential break higher if the buyers want to push it. URNM down slightly, down 0.13%, still hanging in there, still looking all right. URNJ also down a little bit more, right on support. Looking at TAN up 1%. Again, this thing is still in the pattern of basically squeezing on up. I do think that this will break to the upside, though, just like it did on the way it fell. COPX, very strong today, up 3%, over 3% move. But again, this thing has been moving back and forth. Longer picture view, very interesting setup. We've got a nice move higher with a bearish engulfing. We come back, we get some buying pressure, and we kind of move right into a bearish engulfing there, which means we could go lower in the short term. I do understand that the inventories in copper are extremely tight, but overall, in this view, it does look like we could potentially still head lower in the short term for COPX. LIT, this guy is still squeezing up in a declining wedge that generally breaks to the upside because it's declining. But that's where we're at with lithium. REMX is doing the same thing. This actually looks pretty strong. Looks like it's going to give it a run to try to break to the upside. And we'll see if we can break it to the upside tomorrow for REMX. We need to get some of these big patterns that start breaking some direction. S&P 500 up 0.3%. Again, some people are speculating that this is a rising wedge. We'll see which way it breaks. And I, if this breaks to the downside, it's money rotating out of stocks, and I think it will rotate towards precious metals and commodities. We're seeing the same setup on the NASDAQ. Now, could this crash yank down commodities? It very well could. It's a possibility that is out there. So just keep that in mind. But NASDAQ is actually not looking too bad. Looks like it's wanting to run to the upside. Could we see an everything rally to the upside? That is possible. Emerging markets up 1.84%, a little bit weaker dollar. That does, to me, look like it wants to go higher with time. Big picture view, we've broken this downtrend. We're kind of consolidating here. And then generally after consolidation, you get a reversal of that trend, which will be to the upside. XHB up 0.85%. There it is. And we're still in this rising wedge, much like the S&P 500 and much like the NASDAQ. MU up 0.84%. Again, I still think we're going lower here. Just kind of looking from a bigger picture view, I think we're coming back to 70, low 70s. Copper 0.54%. Again, though, we've got stronger selling pressure here, and then the bounce is pretty weak. I got to see more buying pressure for me to be convinced that we are going to break through this support area and come back and start moving to the upside. I know the inventories are tight and all of that, but the price action looks pretty weak. So I still think we could head lower in the short term. I need to see some reversal candlesticks first. Lumber. Now, lumber's firming up here. It does look like this could move higher here. That's a bullish piercing. That guy right there, that green candlestick, and the one before it. We do have a little bit of wicks at the bottom. We'll see if we can firm up here for lumber. Iron ore firming up 3.29%. I do think that we could head higher, grind on higher with time. Nickel down a little bit, down 1.12%. That's on the monthly candlestick basis. The weeklies look like this. But overall, we're at a very high level for nickel. Aluminum firming up at 1.11%. I still think we're going to move sideways here for a little bit longer. We've got larger downside pressure than upside pressure, which means we're probably going to go sideways to slightly lower in the short term. Baltic Dry Index selling off a little bit, down 3.1%. Again, I think this is going to work its way higher over time. It's at a very cheap level, and it just needs a little bit more time. It has bottomed. We've broken out of the pattern, this falling wedge, so that's what I'm using as justification. Newcastle coal, again, I think we're going to move sideways here and base out, and that's what we're doing. We're basing out. But we're up 1.17% today. Ethereum up 1.3%. I do think that can potentially go higher in the short term. Same with Bitcoin here. And I think the path of least resistance is higher before lower in the short term. So that's what I've got for today, guys. That's what I'm seeing in the charts. And obviously, if you guys like these updates, definitely subscribe. If you guys want to go into the individual companies on all that stuff, that's where I do it on the website. That's the finding-value.com. So if you're interested in that, definitely sign up, join our community. We do have a Discord channel. We do have platinum question and answer sessions on the weekends. So we have all that stuff for members. And I do post on the website. We have a lot of good information on there about individual companies and more information about them. I am not paid by any of these companies or anything like that, so they're just ones that I think look good from a charting perspective and also good fundamentally. So that's what I've got for today, guys. That's all I've got, and we'll hit it up tomorrow. A lot of things are still kind of going back and forth. Not really sure which direction we're going to break here. We're still in gigantic patterns for the majority of commodities and the overall markets. So we're just waiting for a break. All right, guys, that's all we've got for today. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.